Did God create the earth in 6 days? Is the earth 6,000 years old or a million years old? So let's take them one at a time. How old is the earth? The answer is we actually don't know. The earth could be 6,000 or it could be a million. If you look at Genesis 1, in the beginning, it said God created the heavens and the earth. We know he created everything, but in verse 2, there could be a time jump because in verse 2, we talked about how the earth is formless and void and the spirit was hovering upon the face of the water. So there could be a time in between that we have no clue about. So the earth could be 6,000 or a million. We just don't know. If the earth is just 6,000 years ago, that means God developed a mature earth, which is totally plausible. Now, if you look at the book of Genesis, it's presented as the earth was created in a literal 6 days. Now, when you look at how it was created, it doesn't quite make sense unless you're a creator yourself. So when I was in graduate school, I would build graphical worlds from the code up. So if you look at how God created the earth, he said he started with something that was formless and void and dark. When you're a graphics coder, your graphical environment starts off as dark. There's literally nothing there. There is no light. So it is darkness. So you're not creating from light to darkness. You're creating from darkness to light. So that makes sense to me from a programming standpoint. The next thing we see is that before God created the sun and the moon, he said, let there be light. So he created day and night before he created the sun and the moon, which makes perfect sense. When I write computer graphics code, I design the environment before I install a light source. Me as the creator, I just turn the lights on. And God did the exact same. He just turned the lights on. But later on, he relegated the light source to be the sun. And that's exactly the same thing I do when I code my graphical environments. Once I place all the pieces where I want them, then I transfer the light from myself to be a light source in the environment. So that makes perfect sense. In the book of Genesis, it talks about how God separated the waters from the waters. So he created earth and he created outer space. And inside of earth, it doesn't talk about him creating the land. It's talk about just let the land appear. And that makes perfect sense because it created a process. And also the plants, they just kind of sprung forth. They create a process of growth. So when I look at Genesis, the earth could be a million or earth could be 6,000. But the process of creation is standard practice for somebody who's a creator. You start with nothing and then you create something. You don't turn the lights on until you got all the things in place. Then you turn the lights on and you let the process run without you like a simulation. So I believe God did create the earth in a literal 6 days. How old the earth is, that's up for debate.